Boom, boom, boom. Welcome, everybody. Come on in and join us. We are live here at the SOUL&Social, which is a little bit of a twist from the Canadian social, but we are super excited about it. My name is Tara, and I am here with my fabulous co-host, Renee, and we are blessed with the amazing guest of Dr. Debra Reble today. And we are so excited to have her here. Her book, Soul-Hearted Living, just came out. It hit international bestseller in Canada and the UK, #1 on many charts. So we are extremely excited to talk about this book, this project, the message it has in it. I'm super excited about it. Dr. Reble, she's an intuitive psychologist. She is also the international best-selling author of Be Love. She's in numerous collaborative books. She has her amazing podcast out there. And a free gift for everybody at the end we're going to talk about. And we're going to dive into this stuff a little bit deeper. But thank you so much for being here. It is wonderful to see you.
It's my joy to be with you. I am so excited to, first of all, congratulations on your new brand. I love the SOUL&Social. That just really strikes a chord within me. And I'm all about the soul. So it's really it's really great to be here with both of you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know for Tara and I, we're pretty pumped about this new direction. And it was funny, the one common thread we found, and I'm sure you can speak to this too, in our past interviews was there's always a pivotal moment for people that them and their kind of changes. And then all of a sudden we realized that's the part of the show that we love the most, is the soul end of it, and hearing people's stories and, making people think. Because I think a lot of people have different experiences that, others can benefit from. And I know with your work, there is a lot of soul.
Yes, there is.
Well, and it's so perfect that it's on the first episode. And we're going to be talking about soul-hearted living. So this is divine timing. It couldn't be more perfect.
I was thinking about that this morning. I thought this is their launch of SOUL&Social, and for me to be the kickoff for this, I feel so honored. And I'm, as you said so beautifully, Renee, it's about the soul experiences, and that goes into all of my work, especially this new book, Soul-Hearted Living. I'm talking about what I do every day, what I've done over the course of my life to align my choices with my soul's path, and those choices coming through my heart. And I do practice what I preach. I always tell my clients, I would never ask you to do anything that I either haven't done or wouldn't do myself, because that's how we are really authentic. And I'm authentic to what I say and what I write about. So.
I love it. Now, Debra, this book I know has kind of a bit of a story to it. I know it speaks to you in many ways, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know you through the fabulous Inspired Living Publishing family. And our publisher, Linda Joy, she's amazing. I'd love if you could tell us a little bit about this, because I really think this book, and by the way, look at how amazing this cover is. It's just beautiful. I love it. When it came out, I was like, oh, it's breathtaking. But this book really is a tool for women, not, it's your words coming out on paper, but that's really a tool that they can use on a daily basis through the year. And it really ties in a lot with mindset and mindful living, which are things that I love to talk about. So would you mind sharing with us about this little story about this amazing book?
I would love to share the story, because it is about divine timing. And my projects have always chosen me. And I always know that when I'm receiving one of those divine downloads, there's no other option for me. I've been chosen. It is time for me to birth whatever came through. And so it was no different with Soul-Hearted Living. I was visiting our publisher, Linda Joy, up in Lakeville, Massachusetts, a year ago, November. It was November of 2017. And we had done a VIP day where I was planning, actually, the project that I launched last year, which was my Anxiety RX Balm for the Soul. So we had just finished wrapping up that project, getting that online course done. And we decided to take a soul break. And so we went to Cape Cod, and we
Oh.
started at this beautiful beach. I believe it was Harwich. And we went up, we were just walking the beach and letting that, inspiration just tap into our soul and watching the horizon and the waves, just filling up with all that goodness. But I had a hankering for some lobster rolls, and we also wanted to continue that journey up the coast. So we went up to Provincetown, and we found this little restaurant, and we had our great lobster rolls, which is, I'm all about that. And after lunch, we just started meandering in those little shops, in P-Town, and went into this bookstore. Well, it was kind of a bookstore, metaphysical store. And we wandered and picked up things, and we, were showing each other our little finds. And we both came together at the same moment in front of this bookshelf. And so we started looking at the different titles of the books, but there was one theme in common. They were all devotional books. They were daily affirmations or reflection books. And I remember feeling, when I have a divine download, or when I know I'm in touch with my source, it's always God. I call them God bumps. I get these goosebumps all the way down to the tips of my toes, up to the top of my head. And I turned to Linda, and she looked at me and she goes, Are you seeing what I'm seeing? And I said, What are you seeing? And I said, I'm seeing soul-hearted living. And I said, so am I. I can see soul-hearted living being a devotional book and taking all these wonderful golden nuggets of wisdom and teaching just the rituals, the daily affirmations, everything that I've used in my life and others, and put them together. The other download that came in, and I said, but I want this to include women everywhere. She said, we can have other women, from all over contribute their quotes. And that was the inspiration for Soul-Hearted Living, not just the idea for a new book and to set it up in a devotional way, but to allow women to contribute their wisdom and their everything that they have learned along their paths, because everyone has something to share, something to give, to contribute to the world. And even if you don't think so, it's in there. And to be able to give women a platform to do that was my passion, and it's always been Linda's. And so to be able to do that was amazing. So that was our simultaneous divine downloads that intersected for the origin of this book.
That's awesome.
I absolutely love it. I totally love it. And
I get goosebumps. I can still feel that. When you're in that moment and it's imprinted on your heart, those times you just know something is absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
When it's so powerful, when you collectively collaborate so many ideas and inspiration together in one place. And that's why I love the message, and I love that collaborative power behind it as well. So I think it was such a great story. Renee, you go right ahead.
Your quotes are in here too. So I'm really excited. I mean, you got to be part of this as well. It's so fascinating.
I'm honored to.
We're always so excited to hear of another book that Tara's involved in.
That's great. Well, she's been involved in several, so she's a very well-known published author too.
She's got some wisdom in her.
Just a little. I was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not too much.
We've had some. It's funny because we'll meet to discuss a show or, work when I was working with my brother, and they would never be a quick visit. It would end up being like a 3, 4, 5, 6 hour visit. And it would end up within 10 minutes off topic. And we have a very hard time staying on topic, to be honest. So, and it ends up being all about this kind of stuff. So, it's neat. I know as a woman, and I've talked to other guests about this too, how it's so important for a woman to have a tribe or, circle with other women and support each other and, have each other's backs and just connect. And I think in our society today, there's such a lack of connection. And I know reading through your website and some of your articles, you speak to that a lot, especially with your soul-hearted living and almost a mindful approach, but using the soul as the intent is what I'm understanding from it.
That's a beautiful way to express this, Renee. I've never looked at it that way, but yes, there's a lot of mindfulness practices. I'm all about positive mindset, as you can tell, my energy and positivity, positive psychology. I mean, I'm a psychologist by certification and credentials, but I've always merged the spiritual with the psychology. And it was such a gift to me because at the same time that I was going through my training, my academic training, I was also seeking the spiritual aspects of my life and doing healing work and learning about mindfulness practices. And so they came together so beautifully. So when I started really working with clients, I had both to offer. And it's never been like why I switch hats. I always start with this merging of spirit and soul. And so the soul-hearted came about because I'm all about the heart center, about really allowing yourself to be open to the information that comes through us from our soul's blueprint, from what we came here to be and express, and it's through our human experience. So that comes through our heart center.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the soul-hearted, is that beautiful soul energy that guides us in through the heart center that grounds us in the physical.
Mm-hmm.
That integration. So I've always seen the integration of mind, body, spirit that way. But thank you. That was a beautiful way to express that.
No problem. And I think that's so important, connecting, the heart, the body, and the spirit, because, and the mind, because I don't think you can heal one without healing the other two. I think they all it's a juggling act, and you can't do one without the other. And I'm sure Tara can speak to this too, and I'll let her speak right after this. But I know myself I went through a very tumultuous divorce and very contentious, and it was 3 years, just about 4 years ago. And I went from having a lot to having nothing overnight. And the only thing that got me through truly was gratitude. Learning, because I was by nature a very negative person, and learning a gratitude practice and just finding something to be grateful for in every day keeps your head above the game and above the crap. And then, taking the next step and using food to heal, and then taking the next step. And it is a slow progression. And 4 years later, I know for myself, my intent this year is healing. So the past 4 years. So I think it's amazing when you talk about the balance between the spiritual and the mind body.
Love it.
Love it. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, so beautiful. Well, and that actually, you have another book out, another international best-selling book that we were actually talking again a little bit about before the show, Being Love. And that book did amazing. And that speaks more about relationships and things like that. Is that not right, Debra?
Well, yes. And it was to talk about healing, Renee, that was my book that I'm very vulnerable in that book because I share a lot of my own truth and my own story of my own walk in life, and having gone through divorce and also breast cancer. And I share a lot of my own path so that other women, and it's really about coming back to self-love and how when we love ourselves, that energy goes out and ripples out and changes the world. Because so many of us feel like, what can we do, especially at this time in our world's, consciousness, what can we do to shift that? Well, we can shift ourselves. And that's why I felt really, again, that book was divinely downloaded to me as well, as a gift to myself to heal, and as well to share that healing journey with others. And the whole idea of coming back into love as our own being. See, that brings what you're talking about, gratitude, frequency. I always say gratitude is one of the aspects of love. And when we go into gratitude, we're opening our hearts, and that vibration just elevates. It starts to go into a higher frequency. Well, nothing can coexist there except for other high frequencies. So fear can't exist, and anger and angst and all the kind of negative stuff that's going on in the world or in our own lives. So when we open to that love of ourselves, we open in gratitude, we open in forgiveness and trust and all these whole energies, we're up leveling right now our own individual consciousness as well as our worlds.
I'll let you go, Tara.
Yeah. Well, and I love that. And I was, that's something that comes to mind to me a lot. It's these practices of constantly raising our vibration and, really using these things like affirmations and mantras or whatever tool it is that works for you. Because there's a lot of science behind it. And I'm sure, Debra, you could talk about this with neuroplasticity in the brain and how you can rewire your cellular memory. And, but it's like going to the gym. It's something that you do have to practice on a regular basis. Can you just speak to us a little bit about how or that has impacted your life, or maybe along your journey with working with clients, when you really noticed that? I know that's like a positive psychology thing, but where that really became helpful through your eyes, you're experiencing not just with yourself, but with others. Sorry, I'm stumbling. My brain is thinking faster than my words.
And I want to just say, Tara, it's beautiful because when we get into a space that high vibration, we don't have language for it. That's how you know. So I'm going to validate this right now, that we've up-leveled this energy right now in our conversation so that we're in a frequency that language doesn't even come. So that's how soul-hearted came to me. There's no word such as soul-hearted. It had never, I was at my desk one day writing wholehearted. I want to express, wholehearted and how that looks in my life and to teach others. And all of a sudden the download was soul-hearted. I don't know where that came from. I know where it came from. It wasn't mine. And that's when I know, when language like that comes in, I know that I'm on that right path. I'm on the path of my own truth. So you bumbling around in there is just telling me, well, she is like, her mind is blown and she is really out there taking in this information. So it's beautiful. Getting back to your question. Yes, with my clients, I really try I encourage them to create practice in their life of these different strategies and rituals and ways of being, because the more we do it, the more we do shift, we actually rewire the brain. It is actually science now is backing this up. We know that the heart center, when we are open, it creates what we call an energetic coherence, where the heart and mind start to come into a balance. And the vibration actually calms the mind and brings the central nervous system into balance and into calm from any kind of anxiety or chaos. So I have a lot of people that are struggling with anxiety right now because of the situations that are going on in the world. Mm-hmm. So being able to tap into their heart center, whether through gratitude or through a meditation practice or a mindfulness practice. I teach a lot of mindfulness movement. It's however you can do that. Whatever works for you, it will start to bring your whole system into that balance. The brain starts to get rewired, and then your neural pathways start to go in that new direction, not the old direction. And you want to keep the practice helps reinforce that, so that becomes your healthy habit. It has, and it does work for my clients now as well. The other one of the things that I do constantly is I'm always listening to myself talk, and sometimes I'm talking to myself too. Sometimes that little negative Nelly that comes in, I hear myself say something negative that's really not my truth. I will say cancel, or bless and release, and I will replace it with then a positive affirmation. Now, a lot of times people think, well, how's that going to help? If you do it over and over again, that becomes the thought pattern, not the old way. And so your voice starts to change. You start to hear it more lovingly. Like I say, oh, you silly goose. You don't really mean that. You mean this, and so I do it in a very loving, sweet way. And if I hear myself very harsh or critical, then I know to rescript right away. And so it's just being able to have these tools. And I felt like, Being Love was a beautiful book. that gave a lot of story and vulnerability behind the many practices that I teach. But this one's a little bit easier on a daily basis to just tap in there, and all these tools that I've been teaching for years are all in here. So it's a real culmination of a lot of work on my part, everything that I've taught.
That's
awesome.
amazing. And thank you so much for sharing this brilliant wisdom of yours with
Well,
the rest of the world.
It's the universe. So I just was very fortunate, and on my soul's journey, that I was given the ability to communicate, to write, to speak, to teach. I'm a former teacher as well. Before my psychology practice, I was a special education teacher. So I've always been a teacher at heart. And so when this information came in, I can't say I was excited. Oh, another book? Really? I have to write another book? Once I got into it, I always do. I do love writing, and I do love speaking, and it is my passion. So it's an honor.
So even on that note, I know for myself, I struggle with this, and I know a lot of women do struggle with this, but standing in your power and showing up and actually living your purpose and putting yourself out there and being vulnerable, I mean, it is all soul and heart.
Yes.
And how do you get, like, in your experience, how do you move people past that? How do you navigate that in a mindful way without so you're not scaring yourself in putting it out there too much? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I have struggled with my whole life. I have wanted to be the person behind the scenes as a leader, or I'll hand you the props and then you go out on stage. I've never wanted to be out front. And I think a lot of that has had to do with, I didn't think I had my worth. I wasn't worthy. I didn't have enough. I didn't have something important to say or to communicate. And I have to say, Linda Joy, my publisher and mentor and dear friend, has helped me with her visibility practices to really get out there and say, she reminds me every day that it's not about me. It's about who you are serving. And this is going to make me cry. When I think about that's why I'm doing what I do, I will be as vulnerable as you want me to be, because I know I'm helping someone. Mm-hmm. If I can share my story of my divorce, or when I questioned myself, when I wrote the book, and every day I was like, who are you to write this book? And I had to have little mantras next to my computer just to finish a paragraph. I feel like I'm contributing to the next woman or man who is, trying to hold their light, and I'm shining it so they can see their own. Mm-hmm. That's, to me, what motivates me, Renee. It really does. That's what it's all about, is to shine so others can see themselves.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful message. It really is. And I wanted to ask you, Debra, with this book, was there some advice you could give anybody? Is there a way that to use the book, or is it to pick it up and just allow it to speak to them and use it in a way that is called?
In the introduction, I talk about different ways to use it, which is a great question. Mm-hmm. For me, lately, I have been going like this. I pick it up and I say, okay, Divine, let me know what I need to read today that will inspire me. And I just open a page. I've even done this actually with my new blog posts. I've started. I need to be inspired to what do people need to read this week, and I will open a page and I will write on that topic. The other way is some people really do need to go beginning to end, and so we're now at the end of January. You can open to January 31st and start there. The other thing is to go by topic. You can look and say, I need some inspiration on trust. Well, trust is in there, or gratitude, or standing in my power. All the topics that we've been just sharing in this few minutes are in that book. So there's so many different ways to use it. Sometimes it's just having it on your bedside table or a coffee table and just see the energy. That's why we chose this. Linda and I chose this together, because the energy kind of comes right off the page, which is how I feel about it. But even my grandson this weekend, I took a copy to my my son and daughter-in-law, and it was sitting on their coffee table. And I had been reading him some children's books, and all of a sudden he looked at me and goes, "I want to read Grandma's book." And he picked
Aww.
and he opened, and he just went like this and opened it. And I thought, that's the way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I love how, and that's why I love how much intention was put in behind it, because not everybody knows how much detail goes into this and how much work and how many people it takes to put a project like this together. And so there really is a lot of intention behind it. And that's something else that I know I love to talk about, is putting intention behind things, when you are planting seeds or intentions with your goals and even your mindset practices and rituals. It really makes a difference with the intention that you do put behind. And I'm sure, Debra, that's something that you have found as well. Oh, we lost her for a moment. Oh, she's coming back. I got her. Here we go. You're back. We needed to disappear for a sec.
We sure did. And now we have a reboot.
So I don't know if you could hear everything that I was saying, but I was just curious to ask your take on intention behind what you do, specifically in your mindset practices, your rituals and things like that.
I would love to talk about intention. For me, it's actually interesting you're asking that question. That's one of my words for 2019 is intention. One of the first one's intention, the second one's illuminate. And I saw how they go together. For me, intention is a vibrational, is vibration. So it's when I set an intention or I create an intention, I'm setting a vibration out to the universe, like dropping a pebble into the pond and watching the ripples go out. And then I have to let go of the outcome because I have to trust that the universe has something even better in store than I can think of. Mm-hmm. I let go I set the intention, let it go out into the space and start creating what I need, the people, the places, whatever it is to manifest that intention. It always comes back in better than I could ever imagine. So I always like to say, life is good and it always gets better for me. But intention it isn't sitting down and going, I have to have this. It's being specific, but then letting the universe work its magic. Mm-hmm. You have to take the inspired action. That's where, a lot of, and I used to, get tripped up on this too. I'd be like setting this wonderful intention and going, well, why isn't it happening? Well, because I wasn't necessarily taking the steps or making the choices that were in alignment. So it's then being really aware of, once you set the intention, that the universe is going to give you all these possibilities, and you have to be open to seeing them and then making those choices that are in alignment. And then I trust that alignment, if it's coming from my heart, is going to be in alignment with my soul's path. So that's kind of my little way of looking at it.
I love that. Thank you.
Even on that note, for people who aren't or are kind of new to this kind of stuff or haven't really ventured into it too far, can you explain the concept behind setting intentions and like the approach that should be taken? And I know you did touch on it a bit in what you just said, but how do you set an intention for people who aren't aware of how to do this?
Well, I have many, many different ways. I set intentions in my journal, up my journal, and I might do it at different times of the year. Like, I have a New Year's practice. I have a full moon practice or new moon practice. Sometimes it'll just be for the day. And I'll write down what I want, but I do it in a positive way. Mm-hmm. It's easy to think about what you don't want rather than what you do want, but try to set the intention in what you want to bring in, not what you want to let go of. I mean, it's important to let go, but try to set it positive. Try to either speak it or write it, because you're declaring that to the universe. You're saying, okay, I am serious enough about this that I'm writing it down. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have a little angel box that I write down and I put them in.
Ah,
Yes, I use those for the, you can have a jar, you can have whatever you want to do. But I use that for my New Year's intentions. And I don't use resolutions. I use intention because to me, intentions are resolutions. They are from the soul.
yeah.
And if your intentions are true to you, they will come from that place. And those are the ones that are most likely to be manifested because they're in alignment with who you are.
Yeah. I like that.
So, and I just wrote a blog on this. Every day I set a new intention to begin new. So say I didn't meet my goal to, eat as healthy as I would have liked the day before. It's a new day. Start again. Forgive quickly and forgive what happened yesterday. So you can always set new intentions. Just because you weren't as aligned with it the day before doesn't mean you won't be in this new energy.
Well, and it's baby steps. I think
It's baby steps, yes. And those little choices that then, you take that first step and then take the next, and then before you know it, you're walking.
Yeah.
So just start small and then just keep going. Don't stop.
Yeah. I love
Well,
that.
I think that's the biggest thing that comes up too sometimes is it becomes overwhelming for people when they're trying to start something new and they get bombarded with piles and piles of information. And it really is just as simple as sometimes starting with that positive affirmation or maybe that mantra or tuning into your breath a little bit more. But it could be just one little kind of simple thing that you start to implement, and then it ripples out and you get some momentum and then it starts to build. So
Absolutely.
that's what I found in my experience.
Me too. And I have to do it every day. I mean, I have some really big goals and larger intentions, but if I don't break them up into smaller steps or chunks, it gets overwhelming. It's like looking at the mountain and going, how in the world am I going to climb that? Well, you start with the first step and then you have to celebrate that. So I'm always telling my clients, look what you just did. A week ago, you didn't even do that. So let's just celebrate this really positive moment and build on that momentum. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Stay in this energy. And then and if we have to, and don't be afraid to tweak your intentions. If it starts to see that it's not quite in alignment or not quite what you wanted, we can change it. That's the one thing about choice that's beautiful is we always have a new choice in every moment. So and choice is so powerful in helping us create those dreams that we want.
Well, and when you talk about the heart center, Debra, and choices and really following for me, I call it my intuition, and it's what my heart is telling me to do, and those kinds of things. Oh, geez, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. I'm sorry. I froze for a second. I thought, oh no, I lost everybody.
We were just so mesmerized by you.
Our Facebook Live glitches.
Then we're looking at you going, wow, she's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Going back to the heart center, that's another thing that they've really shown a lot of. Now I know what happened. I figured it out. Okay. That heart center, they're really showing a lot of study these days that our heart really is such an intuitive and powerful center that can really guide us. And it brings us information, almost before we even see it in front of us. So when we can kind of I find when we tune into that frequency and we're open to the information that's coming and going, it allows us to, bring those manifestations out a lot more, and that intention. I'm sorry, I got distracted there, confused. I'm talking about heart center. I totally had something in mind. I was asking you, Renee, do you have something you want to say to Dr. Reble? I gather my thoughts.
I do.
I'm sorry. And if anybody has any questions, I noticed somebody was commenting, Nasir, please post in the comments, and we will ask for Debra before the end of the show. Renee, you go ahead.
So another article I came across that I didn't have time to read this morning was about letting go. And I know in the new year, you talked about resolutions and intentions and keeping it positive of what we do want, not focusing on what we don't want. And I also know at this time of year, and it's not something you want to talk about because it's not a happy subject, but divorce rates are at their highest,
yes,
or separations in January. So for those coming out of relationships, or, you know, wanting, even if you're in a great relationship, but wanting to let go of certain elements in your life or habits or thoughts or anything, what is the best process for a person to go about doing that?
Well, first of all, it's just take a moment and honor yourself to say it's okay if you're going through something like this. So many people feel shame or that they've failed when it comes to relationships, especially if you're going through a divorce, as one of those examples. It's, you know, it's part of whatever path you're on, and so not to take it so to heart and make it something a bad thing. It's just it's part of your process. What I like to do in letting go is to remember that letting go and trust go hand in hand. So for me, if I am letting go of a relationship, or say a job that I had wanted, or anything that's really near and dear to my heart, or even smaller things, I start with trust. And that trust is the trust in myself, in that connection to the heart center, to our source, whatever that is for you. And to know that you are always connected in, even if you don't feel it. But your heart center is the way to get to that connection. And I think we need to always feel like the universe has got our back, in however spiritual way you feel, so that you don't think you're alone on this path. And to start to let go of the smallest thing first. Say you're going through divorce. Can you let go? What's the smallest, easiest thing to let go about the relationship you had? And to look, and what are you looking forward to once that space opens? What would you like to bring into that? To start in a small way and to then build on that again. Because sometimes when we lose something, even if it's something we know is not good for us, it's still a loss. We're still grieving something that we've had. And you were sharing, earlier, Renee, we still need to take the time to let go of those little things and to start to build on that. And I hope that answers your question.
It does. Yeah, it does. And I think, I think it applies to the little things. I think it applies to the big things in life.
Yes.
And it's one of the hardest things, I think, for us as humans to do, is let go.
Oh, it is. We're creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. As physical beings, we like routine. We like some of the sanity to bring in something new, but at the same time, we still have to grieve the loss of what that was, and how it shakes our foundation a little bit. The things that we put on, the things that we were relying on, we have to come back to ourselves as that foundation of trust and our own security. So that's what I would share.
Thank you.
When security is kind of one of those basic human needs that we all have, just as much as it is to be seen, to be loved, to be heard, those kinds of things. So I think it's important to share that message, and also like the concept of that social coherence also, I think, is really important in raising the overall vibration and helping others to tune into the frequencies of courage versus fear, and bring that awareness out a lot more. I just think it's it's a powerful tool, and it's right here for us to use, but not a lot of us know that, right? So that's what I it's like with meditation. I believe so much in the power of collective meditation and the practice itself and what it can do. But when you bring people together collectively and into manifestation and things like that, it just ripples.
It does. It amplifies it, Tara. And that's so great you're saying that, because even in times of loss, we need to tap into our soul team. I like to say our sacred soul team, or our energetic soul team, because that's where we can tap into that energy that is, we're all one. And that support, that even though we might be going through divorce, or we may have lost a loved one, or, our job may be changing, or we're moving, that's the stability. That's constant. That's always there. That beautiful energy that we're connected into every single moment of every day. And so to remember that and reach out to the people that that remind you, that show you that you're tapped into. Always.
Well, and I think connection is the one thing that our society really lacks these days. And as much as social media and online can be an amazing platform to spread the word of so many different things, there's also a loss of connection between sitting in a living room together talking, or being able to hug, or just, I really see you, even with the people watching, I see you. We thank you for being here. You're important. And I think that's something that's really missing in our society today. And how do we get that back?
Well, just like you were just saying, Renee, we have to first of all focus on it. We have to put our phones down. We have to spend more time over meals, not running through the kitchen grabbing something. We need to sit down together. I mean, in my family, we've always had family meals. That was one of the things I insisted on with my kids, and that we have at least a few every week, even if activities or whatever was going on. My husband and I, now that we're empty nesters, still sit down at the table and connect, turning the TV off, turning all of the electronics. I think that's been a real distraction. And making eye contact, looking someone in the eyes, and what you just said, I see you. When we soul gaze, we look into the eyes of someone, we are seeing their soul. They are reflected in our eyes too. And so that's the soul connection. And so spend a few moments just looking in each other's eyes without saying a word. Hug. And I like to hug heart to heart. Shoulder, not like this. Like,
yeah.
I'm one of the best huggers that I know, because I do, hug in a whole way. And so there are little ways that we can make that connection. You're standing in line at the grocery store, and just open your heart behind somebody and just kind of give them a little bit of a love nudge, just so they can feel it. You never know what's going to make someone's day.
I always joke that it's just the power of a smile.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Especially in your own intimate, groups, because sometimes we forget how important it is to the people that we live with and see every day.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Perry, I'll let you go.
Well, I have to, because I know we're taking you up, but this is just amazing. And I'm sure our viewers are absolutely loving this. And if you haven't caught it, or if you're not seeing this now and you catch the replay, please put comments in below and ask any questions and stuff like that you might have. But before the show, this came up in conversation, and I have to ask about it because we still have to talk about your podcast and your free gift. But we were discussing soulmates, and in your book, we were talking about how sometimes your soulmate isn't the best mate for you. And I really wanted to hear you elaborate on that a little bit more. So can you share a little bit about that, since we're back on this relationship topic again, about what
absolutely.
that means to you? Yeah.
In my first book, Soul-Hearted Partnership, I have a whole chapter on that's okay, on soulmates and soul-hearted partners. I make the distinction between soulmates and soul-hearted partners because we have thousands of soulmates that we're connected to. And that's a connection at the soul level. And that can be pure. It is pure, but that can just be a glance across an airport, terminal, and we see that person, we make that connection, we never see him again. That's soulmate energy. Soul-hearted partners is taking that energy that we feel with someone, and we do the work individually on ourselves, so that when we bring our best self into that soulmate energy, and that becomes a soul-hearted partner. And so, like the two of you can see the energy, you have this soul connection, but you've brought this beautiful relationship together that I see soul-hearted partners. Because, so they don't have to just be romantic. They can be, they can be business partners or friends or family members. But the soulmate energy is such a pure, high frequency energy that unless you're on the path doing that spiritual work, it's very difficult to live up to that energy unless you're working at it all the time. And I don't mean working in a hard way, but really being the best you can be. Does that answer it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Absolutely. Which brings back that whole intention again, right? Brings us back to that starting point again. So I absolutely love it. So Debra, can you tell us, because I apologize, my thing went off my screen here, the name of your podcast, because I don't want to say it correctly, but I know you have a beautiful podcast with amazing guests and you have amazing conversations.
Actually, my podcast doesn't have guests yet. I'm still working on that because I have to learn the technology to go with it.
Oh.
It's just me right now, but it's Soul-Hearted Living, so it's easy. It goes along with the book. So a lot of the topics that I share in all of my different materials, blogs, books are in the Soul-Hearted Living podcast. The free gift is on my webpage, it's www.debrareble.com. And you can find the 4-part sacred meditation series, which really are beautiful heart openers connecting to your heart and soul.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I love offering these gifts, so that you can get a real feel of my work and the energy that I bring, and to guide you on your path to a real soul-hearted life.
Well, and to all our people watching, I mean, it is just the last day of the longest month ever, because January feels like it has a million days in it. But it's a great time to start looking into some of these ideas of what Dr. Reble has given us, and discuss, and maybe start making the changes, and hop over to her website and check it out. And we'd love, Sarah and I, to hear what your journey is for this year, what your intention is for this year going forward, and what steps you are wanting to take for it. So it's going to be an exciting year with the show, and we'd love to have you back again.
Absolutely. And we would love to give one of our viewers a copy of Soul-Hearted Living. So you do have to like our page, give us a like below, tag somebody, and please share out the show so that we can get this message and this book out to as many people as possible. And next week we'll see. We'll find the winner down there, and then we'll contact you.
Oh, that's a great idea. I love that my book's going out to a winner.
It'll go out to the perfect person.
It certainly will.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom here today. Honestly, it's just been amazing. And I always love getting to see you. So it's an extra special day for me.
Well, you too, both of you. Nice meeting you, Renee. And
you too.
Always great to see you again. And thank you. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Such good work.
Thank you for everybody who's watched. Thank you for your time. We value it. We appreciate it. Like us, share us. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as the Canadian Social for now. It's all being shifted over to Soul and Social. Thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing week. And
live soul-heartedly. Live soul-heartedly.
Make mindful choices. Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.